Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's International Dance Day, Tony, and sadly, I think we all know what this means.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Penguin dance. Hit it, boys. Hit it. To the side and back to the front and slow it down and speed it up. People love the penguin dance, Wilbon. They love it.
Did you miss a calling when you were younger? Should you have been a vaudeville song and dance man or something in an earlier life?
Yeah, I'm old enough to have been in vaudeville, I guess. But I don't know that the penguin dance would have worked in all the vaudeville honky tonks. Not sure. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Cavs roll. The Rockies do not rock, and PK Subban joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with Golden State beating Houston last night behind a big fourth quarter by Jimmy Butler, who had 14 of his 27 points in the fourth. The Warriors have now taken a 3-1 lead in the series against 2 seed in the West. Wilbon, you were there. What stood out to you most about last night's result?
Tony, it's sort of the difference of the teams physically. You start with that. I start with it. I can't get over it. How the Houston Rockets are just young. They're like not acrobats, like trapeze artists. They're just flying around the court. They can get to the basket at will almost whenever they want to. They did it 7 possessions in a row to wipe out a deficit and get the lead late in the game. And yet, the Warriors just keep going about their business. And Houston ultimately does not know yet enough or know how to beat a team. We make a lot of physical attributes when we talk about sports, even the greatest of teams, when it's the intellectual attributes that usually set them apart. And so with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler to start it, and Steve Kerr, they just know how to do what they do. And so Draymond Green, after the game, even took me through sort of how he has to guard much larger players, 6'10", 6'11" guys at 6'5", and how he does this. And even though just the know-how, the Warriors are just a treasure trove. Okay, here's what we have to do in the moment to win this game, even though they are like drones. They are flying all around the arena, the Rockets, and they do it. And even with that, it's a physical play. Jimmy Butler, who can barely move for 3 quarters, figured out how to get himself some motion in the fourth, and he goes up above everybody like Wilt to grab the important rebound of the game. And then afterward, couldn't even walk. And you're like, my goodness, this is a championship team. Houston doesn't know enough. They may get there one day soon, but they're not there yet.
I don't want to disagree with anything you said. I want to go in a different direction, Mike. I am conflicted, and I'm conflicted over Jimmy Butler. I realize that Jimmy Butler is a great player. You don't call someone playoff Jimmy for nothing. He gets to the line more than anybody. He wins games. I appreciate that Jimmy Butler wins games. But I really think that he left the Heat for dead. I mean, he just walked out on a team that he had played for years. His rampant egomania and his selfishness, it crippled that team. So I can't bring myself to root for Jimmy Butler, though I think he's a great player, and I like to root for the Warriors. I don't know what to do here, because I can see, look, they're 27-9 since they got him. He has made all the difference in the world. But I don't want to condone, Mike, the way that he got there. And you're totally right about Houston. Houston and Detroit are going to be great teams at some point. That their time isn't now. Oklahoma City's time is now. They did this before Houston and Detroit. So that's my conflict.
Let me say this about Jimmy Butler. All leagues are full of teams, management, who get rid of players all the time. They run them out. And so I'm not going to have any angst because Jimmy Butler said, oh, no, I want to leave. Teams have spent 150 years in American sports throwing players the hell off of teams despite whatever promises they made. And so Jimmy Butler got the best of this one. I'm fine with that. I don't have your angst. And I do root for the Warriors, and I root for the Warriors because of those 4 guys I named earlier, and I marvel that they are together now and doing what they do. I do it. I hope they keep winning. And Butler's one of my favorite players ever, and today. So we're on the opposite side of that train.
Come on.
Let's move to the Cavs and their very cavalier sweep of the Heat. Cleveland beat Miami in Miami by 55. And the Cavs were playing without all-star point guard Darius Garland. The Bam Adebayo of the Heat said after the game, quote, "There's going to be a lot of changes this summer, understanding how the guy with the silver hair works," close quote. Tony, you know the guy with the silver hair. You know him and who he is. Does this series tell you more about the Cavs or his Heat?
So here I am again. Cleveland is a wonderful team. They may very well be a championship team. They manhandled Miami in this. Now, Mike, you know that I believe that a 1 seed should always sweep a play-in 8, which is exactly what they did, right? But my heart goes out to Miami, and it's about Jimmy Butler, who left them for dead on the side of the road. They had no chance. They had no chance last night at all. I watched that game until I couldn't stand it anymore. It's 35-8 in the first quarter, Mike. 35-8. It's a brutal watch at that point. Is Miami a better team than that? With Jimmy Butler, they're a much better team than that. With Jimmy Butler a couple of years ago, they made the NBA Finals, and it's essentially the same team that's out there now. So do I think that Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra don't know what they're doing? Come on. Of course they know what they're doing, but that was a brutal watch last night, and maybe changes have to be made. I just think that at the core of it is Jimmy Butler walking out on him. I do.
Tony, I'm going to go back to the Pat Riley part of this, because I got this great text last night, like us, and I'm in the Warriors game, but I'm watching this at 30. That's just the score you named. And I'm like, what is going on here? Tony, players from the other teams are like, whoa. And a large part of that is because Miami, people look at Miami and marvel at them often, admire them often, fear them sometimes, respect them all the time because of Pat Riley. Yes, Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra and the crew, but Pat Riley. And the great Bob Ryan texted me during this, and Ryan, of course, has been following Pat Riley for Pat Riley's whole life in basketball, which is, almost 60 years. And Ryan's text said, how does Pat Riley feel about watching his team get trumped by 37 and then 55 points? And so to me, we'll get to Cleveland. You're right. And I'll give you credit because all year you've been saying Cleveland, pay more attention. And I've been saying, I don't know. But Tony, I'm wondering, what is Miami going to do? Because Pat Riley doesn't take these things. So you love Pat Riley. I know how much you respect him as an executive, as a coach before that. Like, how does Pat, what is he going to do next?
Miami just lost at home by 37 and 55. That's never happened before. Yeah. Miami was swept by a total of 122 points. That has never happened before. They were down last night by 60. You want to buy a ticket to that? Let's move to baseball. The Colorado Rockies lost again last night at home to the Braves. Colorado has now lost 7 in a row. They are a Major League worst 4-24 on the season. That is the worst start in National League history. The Rockies are on pace to go, hold on now, 23 and 139. Wilbon, at what point does the performance of the Rockies become a problem for baseball?
No point. No point at all. This was just done last year by a franchise that's 3 times older, maybe 4, than the Rockies, the White Sox, who've been around since like the 1880s. It mattered a little bit with them because they've been around so long and you have generations of fans. You don't have that with the Rockies. I'm sorry. I'm not a guy who talks about flyover states because I grew up in one of them. So no, this isn't the Dodgers or the Giants. It isn't the Yankees. It isn't the Cubs or the Red Sox. It's not even the Braves, who were once on a superstation when that kind of thing existed in America. It isn't. And it isn't even the A's, who have played themselves from Philadelphia to Kansas City to Oakland to now obscurity. It isn't. It's the Colorado Rockies, and nobody knows anything about the Rockies unless they live in the 4th time zone. It doesn't matter. Couldn't matter. It isn't. Doesn't.
I agree with all of that sentiment. I will say, however, that the future of the Rockies is bleak at the moment. They are in the hardest division in all of baseball, the National League West.
Yeah.
This number is amazing. 45 of their remaining 134 games, just 45 of them are against teams that now have a losing record. They didn't just start losing this year, Mike. This is endemic. They have lost, this will be their 7th straight losing season. They put 3 90-plus losses back to back to back, and now they're working on a third probable 100-loss season. So, and if you look at the metrics, they're worst in baseball in pitching, in hitting, and in defense. That's all there is, and their farm system stinks. So I'll just take 20 more seconds. Bud Black's been there since 2017. Made the playoffs early, but all these losses are on his resume. Their general manager, I believe his name is Bill Schmidt, got there in 2021, has never had a winning season. And if you can't put a farm system together, what are you doing? And you hate to say this because it's about jobs, but sometimes you have to make changes for change's sake, because there's no long game here. There's no long game. Let's take a break. Coming up, the Florida Panthers play very edgy hockey, and we will ask PK Subban about that.
We'll also ask him why Jet star goalie Connor Hellebuck suddenly struggling. Not as badly as the Rockies, because he's the Vezina Trophy winner,
Rockies,
probably.
No, they're terrible.
Struggling.
But you're right about the White Sox. The White Sox were historically bad, and Let's dig into the Stanley Cup playoffs with our great friend ESPN hockey analyst PK Subban. Let's start with this. Aaron Ekblad of the Panthers laid out Brandon Hagel of the Lightning last night. Nothing was called at the time. The Panthers, PK, play with an aggression that seems like it can destabilize an opponent. How much of an edge is that?
Oh, definitely. And it can also destabilize parts of your body depending on where they're hitting you. This is very consistent with how they play. It's a pack mentality. I watched Matthew Tkachuk all last game quietly go about his business. It wasn't all over the TV screen. He didn't make a lot of noise, but every time he had a chance to put a lick on Jake Gensel, every time he had a chance to cross-check him, every time he had a chance to bump him, he did it. And I watched it specifically. It wasn't something that was talked about, but this is how they play. They play on the edge, and they're okay with it going over the edge every now and then. And that's playoff hockey as far as I'm concerned.
Wow. PK, let's move to a series I'm personally more interested in. The Oilers and the Kings back on the ice in Los Angeles again. The Oilers have tied this series 2-2, but they get off to these excruciatingly slow starts and only seem to be able to pull themselves together late. What is up with that, and is that sustainable?
Well, they scored 7 goals in the third period of both the last 2 games in comeback wins. Out of those 7 goals, 5 of those goals were with the man advantage. 2 were power play, 2 were empty netters, and 1, I think, was what the goalie pulled. So what does that say about the Edmonton Oilers? You can't go down a man. You can't be at a disadvantage against them. They're too skilled and too experienced. And for the LA Kings that are trying to pull off a tough feat, eliminating the best player that the game has potentially seen in the last 2 decades or beyond, eliminating him in the playoffs in the prime of his career is no easy feat. If they thought they were going to do that in 4 or 5 games, I would have said, guys, I don't know what you're drinking out in LA, but it ain't happening in 4 or 5. They know this thing's going to be tough. They got to take care of business at home. It's business as usual. Jim Hiller has every reason to be, a little bit upset. They've had 2 great opportunities to put this team away, but it's a part of their learning process for those young players. You see Quentin Byfield. That's not a mistake. That's a routine play when he's trying to get that puck out of the zone. Just happens to hit a stick. Those are the things that you learn when you're becoming a championship team. And I don't have to say that on the air. I know Drew Doughty, Anse Kopitar, the veterans in that locker room are getting this group ready to finish off what they started, and that's to beat this team. I still think they have a good enough team to do it, but make no doubt about it, if they're going to be taking penalties, if they're going to put themselves in odd man situations, you're giving the best player in the world opportunities, and you can't give them any.
One of the mysteries so far of the playoffs is Connor Hellebuck struggling and being pulled a couple of times. And I know that series, Winnipeg and the Blues are tied at 2, PK, but what's wrong with Hellebuck? I mean, we're not used to seeing him struggle like this.
Well, listen, Connor Hellebuck, he's got 2 Vezinas. I've said it before, he's probably going to win his 3rd this year. But, when people talk about him I listen to Scott O'Neill saying, listen, we got to play better in front of him. But I watched Sergei Bobrovsky last year in the playoffs lead his team take on the #1 power play. I don't care about the numbers. Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers have the most deadly power play in the league when the game's on the line. He took that on. He wins a Stanley Cup. I watched Igor Shesterkin for multiple years take a defenseless team. I don't care what anybody says in New York. The Rangers have been bad defensively for a lot of years. For the past couple years, Shesterkin has carried that load. So for me, Connor Hellebuyck has always been a great goaltender, structured goaltender, playing in a great situation. He's got to make second and third saves. He's got to make some impossible saves. I'm not saying all the goals are his fault, but I have to look at the highlight reel and say Connor Hellebuyck stole that game for them last night. And he still has to do that in this playoffs. If he can do that, I think they'll like the results when it's all said and done. But he's got to steal a couple games. He's got to make a couple impossible saves.
Let's get you out of here on this. There are 2 games tonight. The Maple Leafs can close out the Senators, and the Wild and Vegas face off tied at 2 games each. PK, which game is more intriguing to you?
I would like to say Toronto and Ottawa just as a hometown guy, because we know this. We know Toronto's got to end this tonight. They don't want to go back to Ottawa because we could be saying to Game 7, and with everything going on in Toronto, they don't need that. Their big guys got to come up big again. But for me, it's the Vegas game because Kirill, the Thrill, Kaprizov. This guy is as advertised. 8 points, leads the series, 4 goals, 4 assists, leads both teams, and a dominant force on both sides of the puck. Vegas is in trouble. They got to get to their A game, and they got to shut down that line. I said it yesterday, I'm going to say it again. Kaprizov and Matt Boldy, that 3-headed monster that they got, Joel Eriksson Ek, that #1 line, they got to get those guys on a leash, Tony. Wilbon, they got to get them on a leash and fast. Tonight, if they don't, they're in trouble. Those guys are lethal. Lethal.
That reminds me, I got to get my dog on a leash in a little while as well. PK, it's such a great pleasure to have you because you're so enthusiastic.
PK, appreciate
it's
you,
really
man.
good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Wilbon.
Tonight's doubleheader starts at 7 Eastern. Let's take one last break. Still to come, the NBA says it is considering yet another new All-Star Game format.
Please. Brandon Nimmo puts up some big numbers against Tony's Nationals. Uh-oh. What's going on in Washington?
That was tough.
Huh?
Well, their bullpen is no good, and then they put in, a position player, Rosario, and then you shouldn't do that. That's shameful. No, you have pitchers. Put in a relief pitcher. Put in a real pitcher. Not somebody
don't waste your bullpen at 20-5.
What's your favorite team? Comment below, and if you liked the video, please leave a like. This really helps the channel grow and brings you even more content. Oh, and if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button and activate the bell to receive all notifications. With each game, we notice that the NBA is getting more competitive every day, and all the teams are looking for reinforcements to win the championship. And only here can you follow your favorite team daily with incredible content from different sources. Here on the channel, there are new videos every day with analysis, curiosities, and the best moments in basketball. That's it for today, folks. Thanks for following along. The NBA doesn't stop, and neither do we. Until the next video. NBA, the passion that connects us.